Hooligans, we back with another episode of the Hooligans League podcast. And today we have a fucking banger. It is draft lottery weekend, so you know we're talking about that. The league change window still open, so we got to address that. We got some new fans. For real, we actually have some new fans to the podcast, so we're going to talk about that. Got the mic again, the camera, real production. So back to that. But of course, we have updates to our HooliGOAT rankings, more teams to cover, and a new tier. But to top it off, we even have a manager who has launched himself as the prime candidate, the early candidate for next decade's HooliGOAT. I know, it's wild, but this manager has set a new standard for hooligans already. And the season hasn't even begun. This is some of the most exciting news I've had in some time, and I am very excited to share it. And that's why it is all hands on deck, and we are going in with this Hoolibanger. So sit back, grab a beer, light up, do what you got to do to relax. This is going to be a good one. Episode 4 of the Hooligans League podcast. Let's go.
Best in the business when it comes to a quarterback sneak. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
I don't make mistakes. I'm not just like the rest of you. I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better. I am better.
We are better. We are fucking better. This is the best league in the world. I say it all the time, but I truly mean it. And season 11 is only taking it to another level. This truly is the super season for us. And I'm not just talking team names. It's an honorary season. We're kicking off our second decade of the league, which is pretty special. We're crowning our first ever HooliGOAT this offseason, which, by the way, I'm going deeper into the stats the closer we get to crowning that manager of the decade. But yeah, it's a special season. This is a special episode too, but I always get caught up when I sit back and think about where we are going. The prize pool will obviously be the biggest it's ever been. This year, it will be $2,640. Our membership, our league membership, is now across the country because 2 of our members have moved away from Massachusetts. But we even have fans this year, y'all. We got fans. As I mentioned last week, I filmed out of Denver, and my friends were obviously curious about what this was, and so I tried to hide it for a little bit, and then I eventually told them about the podcast, told them the name of the podcast, or gave them a little hint. They found it, and to my surprise, they watched the entire episode last week. So I'm getting judged a little bit because they all saw our team names. Yeah. But they're also now fans of the podcast. So shout out to the LA crew who are now super invested into seeing who the HooliGOAT is going to be. They even subscribed. Not even all of you have subscribed, but I know at least one of them has subscribed to the YouTube channel. So yeah, this is a super season. It's our second decade. Biggest prize pool. We got a cross-country membership. We have fans. We have golf tournaments. We have trade parties. We have it all. And this episode is going to have it all. This episode is definitely going to have it all. And so first up, we do have to dive into what is probably the most urgent matter, which is our Hooligans draft lottery, which is tomorrow, Saturday, or today, depending on when you're watching this. So let's talk about that. Oh yeah, and shout out to Andy, whose team name seemed to be a fan favorite. But okay, so we have the race tomorrow, Saturday, whatever. And so what we'll do is the exact same thing as last year because nobody submitted any other ideas. And we got a bunch of other surprises that are coming. One on this episode, others down the road. So we're not getting super creative with this race. But for those that don't remember, what we did was we had a virtual race to determine who your racers are. So in just a moment, I am going to record this virtual race where you will find out your rankings of racers. So if you win this virtual race, you get the best racer tomorrow. If you come in last in this virtual race, you will get the worst racer tomorrow. And I will send out all of the racers an hour before it starts. The race starts at 7:30, so at 6:30 p.m. I will send out the racers according to how things play out right now. So, without further ado, it's time to find out, I guess, your odds to getting your racers, which will determine your draft order. This is so extra. It's so ridiculous, but it's very on brand to our league. So let's do it. All right. So does this look familiar to any of you? If not, I don't really care because I'm going to make sure that you know that this is live. As you can see here on the screen, every single one of you has been entered into this virtual racetrack. Okay? 100yardrush.com. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to shoot a random text to the league so that you know that this recording is the one recording that I did. I didn't do this race so many times until I got the racer that I wanted. Okay? I've done this before. You should be familiar with it. So yeah. So I'm going to send a text and I'm going to say, Andy, just race Dickie already, please. This text will make more sense. No, I don't even need to say that. If you're watching, you get it. You know you want it. The league wants it. Okay, so text is sent. All right. Now we're going to go to this. So you know that this is the one time I'm running this simulation. Can't redo it. Text is there. It's not going anywhere. So we have all 12 members of the league in here. We're going to go and shuffle the order of you all on the left a bunch of times. Oh, and James said the league needs it. So I'm going to stop right there. James texted, I'm stopping right there. Going to hit next. Does everyone have the same chance of winning? Yes. No unlocking the luck. Let's do the most you can sprint. We'll do it. You can do a full 10-yard sprint. You can do a 1-yard sprint and go nowhere. We'll keep it all to the default settings. I did test it out on fast and it was a little faster than I liked. So I'm going to keep it on normal. All right, so here's a preview of the settings. I'm going to save the settings, and here we go.
3, 2, 1. And Caveney takes an early lead, followed behind Mark and Dickie's catching. Oh, okay. Okay, Mark. Early lead. Keep going. Do not slow down, Mark. We got Silverman in the way back. Caveney's trailing in second. Rattlers, it looks like he's in fifth. Joe V's making a late push. I'm falling behind. Now Santella's making a late push. Oh boy, Silverman, you are way behind. Chris ain't too much farther in front of you. Jovi, the reigning champ, is still up front. Oh boy. Let's not give him the number one pick. Caveney and Joe have kind of separated from the pack here, but Dickie's making a late push. Hopkins is making a late push. Who will cross first? And it is Caveney! No, Hopkins! Holy shit! Then Caveney. Jovi. Dan Santola. I don't know who's in fifth. Rattler fifth. Me sixth. Rick seventh. Chris eighth. Andy ninth. Dick 10th. And Chow and Silverman are slow as fuck. Okay. So, let me turn this.
So here are the rankings. Here are the results of the race. Hopkins, you will get the number one odds maker for racers tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Caveney, you'll get the second best racer. Joe V, you'll get the third, and so down the list. Again, it's just to determine who your racers are. This does not actually determine your draft pick. But I had to randomize it somehow, and this is the way that I went with it. So I'll put up on the screen right here the current racing list, but this list could change tomorrow because who knows? Someone could drop out. I don't know. I don't really understand how racing works. So we're going to go by the rankings at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. And I will text the league exactly who your racers are. But if you want to get curious who you might have, check this list right here. Okay? That's it for now. Check back in Saturday, 6:30 p.m. to find out who your races officially are. And then the race is at 7:30. And quick reminder that the draft is Labor Day, 8:30 p.m. Dan Santola, who I believes his band is performing live tonight, if not right now as I record. I think a few of you are probably there watching. Dan has offered to host people for the draft. So let's make sure we talk about that soon because it's a Sunday night and it's pretty late. And my lazy ass is not driving all the way to Hudson if only a couple of y'all are going to be there. So let's make sure we talk about that. But draft is Labor Day, not a Sunday night because Labor Day, Monday night. It's a school night. So you will have just over a week to prepare for the draft with your actual draft selection. So just a reminder, nothing we got to do there. Maybe we'll set up a video chat or something. I don't know. Haven't thought about it yet. We'll get there. League changes. Another thing that I have not have not put too much thought into just about yet.
You suck!
Mainly because really nothing came in. So we'll be keeping it light this year. We'll have to approve the adjusted payouts for the increased buy-in. There'll be a couple things to discuss, but it'll mostly just be focusing on football. I think the only things that did come in actually were like punishments for last place. And then I have some really small things. So I will drop an episode on this early next week. It'll purely focus on rules and payouts. Probably won't even include the HooliGOAT. That way we can just get the business. And then I'll need y'all to review it, give your approvals, and then we can tie a bow on it, be done with it, and be good with the off season. So that'll come soon. Let's get through the draft lottery, and then we'll jump into this. But this does bring us to one of the most exciting parts of this episode. Not the most exciting part of this episode. The HooliGOAT. Okay?
I went to the petting zoo and I let the goat lick my penis.
Oh boy. So as a reminder, the HooliGOAT rankings is an evaluation of all of you managers based on your playoff success, your regular season success, and your scoring success. Not going to review all this again. You can pause it if you want to look at the 12 different categories that I mainly looked at. As I've started to get closer to the top, I've needed to dive a little bit deeper for tiebreakers, essentially. So you will start to see new statistics come in. It's also just been kind of fun to find little tidbits about each other's teams. So you will start to see more and more stats about your performances as we go. But to recap, we've so far reviewed the bottom 3 teams. Radler had no shot at HooliGOAT contention. Jovi and Caveney were just saved by their rings from being in that no-shot tier, but they're both still bottom 3. And that leads us to actually another team in this saved by a ring category, because I went back to the numbers and I realized that I fucked up. There is another team that just doesn't quite fit in the next tier. Too much suck. Way too much suck. I think I was distracted by a couple of positives, and I didn't realize that they do not deserve to be in tier 3. They are right there in the bottom 4. And so before we get to the next tier, which will be covered in this episode, we are going to discuss the 9th ranked team, which after reconsideration will be in tier 2, saved by a ring. Or really tier 4, I should say. Once we get through team 9, we have 3 more teams to cover, which will round out the not total shit tier. And essentially, this tier is your middle of the pack teams or managers. So we got 4 teams to cover today. And this isn't even the most exciting part of the episode. So bear with me. We got a lot of information. going to be shitting on a bunch of teams, highlighting some successes, and ruling out who is not the HooliGOAT. So let's start with the final Saved by a Ring team, the 9th ranked team of the decade. So this team has some good. And honestly, this is the good that distracted me, which made me think that they were up a tier. They have a championship. They've received a bye week twice. They've been a top 2 team in the regular season twice. They've also been a top 2 scorer twice. So they've had multiple very good seasons, one of them resulting in a championship. This is more than most teams can say. This square right here, honestly, probably puts them in like top 6 or 7 category for good, which is why I originally had them as a 3rd tier team. But when I was comparing them to the next teams and trying to figure out where they would rank, I realized they really didn't belong with them, which is why they are in the Saved by a Ring. Because if we took away this championship, we'd realize that maybe these other 2 stats are just outliers, or maybe they just don't deserve the weight that I was giving them. Because this manager has some okay things as well. 5 winning seasons. That's better than some. 4 playoff appearances. That's okay. It's not, doesn't quite reach good. 2 podiums. So has been top 3 in the playoffs twice. That's okay. It's not suck. But there certainly is some suck. This manager's never been a 1 seed. One of the few teams to have never been a 1 seed. This manager has been a bottom 3 seed 3 times. That's 1/3 of their career in the Hooligan League. They've been a bottom 3 manager. This manager also is one of only 4 managers to have missed the playoffs the past 2 seasons. So this manager hasn't had any recent success over the past 2 years. Hopefully, they will make a change this year. It gets worse, though. This manager has come in last twice, including last year. Let me just double check my records really quickly because I don't want to misspeak. Did they come in last year? Yes, they came in last year, which was the 2nd time they've come in last. So now you probably know who it is. They are also a 2-time lowest scorer of the year, including last year. They also have the 2nd lowest win percentage in the entire league, behind only Jovi. So this team, besides those 2 great seasons that I mentioned in the beginning, has really struggled. And I think it's gone a little unnoticed. At least I didn't notice it. Now that I think about it, I have clowned him a little bit in the podcast over the past couple of years. But if you haven't figured it out yet, this manager is the one and only Poopskins, Jimmer Hopkins. Is he the only 2-time last place in our league? I have to check this really quick. Nope. Keveney was as well. 1 of 2. So yeah, that places Jimmer in the 9th spot, in the Saved by a Ring spot, because if he did not have that ring, his resume would look much, much worse. But we take a look back at some of the great names his teams have had. LaBelle Roe v. Wade was a fantastic one. Portuguese Breakfast, completely forgot about that banger. Schindler's Fist was good the first time, maybe not as good the second time. Sergeant Slaughter, Philip of River Run. You know what I just noticed? I think James and Caveney are the only two who have reused names in our league, and they're also the only two who have come in last place twice. So that might, just be the Hooligans karma coming to bite them. So lesson learned, do not reuse your fantasy names. But at the end of the day, James does have some successful seasons. He has won some money, but you are not the HooliGOAT. I think I even have a sound for that.
Who's this jerk? Man, he got me all excited. I thought I was gonna get to see a goat.
Nope. Not today. Okay. So next, our next tier, we're looking at teams 8, 7, and 6, the not quite shit tier. And we're going to start off with team 8. This is actually the first manager in our rankings who is an OG hooligan. He was in year 1 of the league. He's been in it for all 10 years. And he's the first to show up on the list. So this manager has, and I'll preface really quickly, these next 3 teams, it was very hard to differentiate the order. They all just don't scream anything special. And so it was very difficult to decide on the order. So if you have any disagreements on these orders, I don't give a fuck. They're not the HooliGOAT and they're not the worst. That's kind of how I'm classifying them. But this manager is 8th, the worst of the middle. And their ugly is somewhat ugly. They are a 4-time bottom 3 team, which is the most in our league history. They also have the most losing seasons all time with 6, which is tied with 1 or 2 other managers. So they've had a lot of losing in this league, which it's a rough start. You might be wondering, how aren't they in the tier below? And I might be wondering that myself now that I read this out loud, but we'll see. The bad. They only have 1 podium performance, so they also don't have great playoff performances. They've only been a top scorer, never. They've never been a top scorer, and they are one of 4 managers with 4 bottom 3 scoring seasons. So that's a pretty bad trend to have 4 bottom 3 scoring seasons, but they're not alone in that. And I actually know that a couple teams above them join this manager in this. And then this last stat is just one that I found that just stood out kind of oddly. This manager has the most blowout losses in hooligan history with 21. A blowout loss is considered a blowout loss when you lose by your opponent by like 40%. And they've done it 21 times, and the next up was like 16 or something like that, something ridiculous. So they get smoked often, which is not helping this manager's case to not be in the tier below. But let's get to the good. So this good, there's not much here. They have a championship. Damn. This manager might have to get relegated to the tier below as well. I'll have to reconsider that in the next episode because this is not looking good. Let's get to the okay. So there's a lot of okay here. A lot of okay. This manager has been a number 1 seed 1 time. This manager has been a top 3 in points scored twice. So 2 good seasons, 1 very good season, 6th all time in playoff points. So middle of the pack. 7th all time in total points, middle of the pack. 7th all time in win percentage, 49%. So this team has been a middle of the pack team, even though there's a lot of suck. And I guess that just goes to show how much suck there has been in our league. With that said, I will still, when this episode is over, take a second look to see if they truly belong in this tier or not. But for now, they're the 8th spot. They're the middle of the pack. And I think this slide right here shows exactly why. And this manager is none other than Dan Silvertits Silverman. Plenty of great names here. Alabama Hot Pockets, Mr. Wings Wang, he didn't even have that teacher. Kenny Powers Python Cock, Randy Marsh, Bill Lumberg, forgot all about Airtight Granny. A Team Has No Name was a great name. Chinese Clam Cram 3, Unwanted Cream Pies. Honestly, this is a fantastic collection of names, and it almost makes me want to keep you in this tier for this alone. So good work over the years, Silverman. You really have nailed the team names. But sorry, you are not the GOAT.
That's what I'm talking about.
Nope.
That's why he's the MVP.
No, you're not.
That's why he's the GOAT.
No, you're not.
The GOAT.
Sorry, buddy. Okay, so this next manager number 7 is arguably the most boring manager in this rankings. Not personality wise, not even their managerial style, just the content on here. There's not much here. Even really the next two, and that really is why they are so dead set in the middle. But we'll start with this one, number 7. There is some ugly. There's definitely some ugly. Only 3 playoff appearances out of 9 seasons. 1/3 of their career in the Hooligan League has been in the playoffs. Only 1/3. So 2/3 of their career has been out of the playoffs. That is bad. And because of that, they are bottom 3 all time in playoff points. So not a hot start at all. The bad, there really isn't much bad beyond that. Just that they have 0 championships. So essentially, this manager has no playoff success. Which, yes, that's very bad, but fantasy football isn't just about the playoffs, and they've done other stuff other than that. So, but that's it. That's really, I was diving deep into their stats to find anything else that would make them stand out as a bad manager, and it's really just that. Only 3 playoff appearances and the 0 championships. Everything else is just meh. There's a little good. They've never come in last. So they've never won. They barely make the playoffs, but they've also never come in last and have only been a bottom 3 team once, which is tied for first, tied for the least amount. So they're never at the top, but they are never at the bottom. This is one of the few teams that really falls into this category. And there's a decent amount of okay. You know, they've been the number 1 overall seed once, so I shouldn't say they've never been at the top. They just didn't end up doing anything in the playoffs, really, with that. They were a top scorer once in the league, and they have the 5th highest win percentage all time. They've won 50% of their games, yet they don't make the playoffs. It's honestly a weird predicament for this manager. And this is what I meant, that it's not all about the playoffs. This manager has won a lot of games while they've been in the league. It just doesn't result in enough. They're just a middle of the pack team. Not quite shit, but not quite good. And you might even be able to guess who this is based on their last couple of seasons because they have perfectly demonstrated the ability to be meh. And that's Chris Santola. Just embracing the middle. But at least he's got some good names. He's got the pizza fucker. I still like chuckle every time I read Oreo Teeth. I can't even say the whole name because it's just so disrespectful. I totally forgot about Big Ern McCracken. Who's nailing Palin? Forgot about that. Theon's Missing Dong is honestly one of my all-time favorite names. And Ghost Thrusters is just such a classic Hooligans League name that it just makes me feel like we need to go back to the porn-themed names soon because there are so many classics back then. So, Chris, congrats on being a middle-of-the-pack team. I feel like you're going to be totally content with this ranking. You've gotten some shit luck. You easily could have been higher if some things went your way, but you easily could have been lower too. It's just how the cookies crumbled for you. Not the Oreo cookies though. So you're the 7th spot. No more GOAT music for you. Let's go to 6. 6 will be equally as confusing, I think. Yeah. So this manager has 0 ugly. Couldn't find a thing. Couldn't find a single thing that was ugly about their history in the Hooligans League. No ugly. They have bad. Never been a top scorer. Not once. And they are one of the 4 managers with 4 bottom 3 scoring seasons. So scoring, not an elite score, is the trend I'm starting to see here. The good has won a championship, has never come in last, and has never been the lowest score. So again, we're in this, besides having a championship, this is really why this manager got the edge over Chris. Very few really good seasons, very few very bad seasons, but has the championship, has that championship, and has a lot of been a 1 seed once. Is 5th all time in playoff appearances with 5. Is tied for 5th all time with winning seasons with 5. 6th all time in total points. 6th all time in win percentage with 49%. Middle of the pack. This manager has been middle of the pack throughout their history in the league, but won a league. So not quite shit, but not quite great. Approaching good. Honestly, with one more good season, they probably are good. That would get them up above 50% in the winning percentage, which is rare in our league. Only 5 teams in our league have. No, only 4 teams in our league have above a 50% winning percentage because Chris is 5th with dead on even. And so this manager, the last manager of this tier, is your very own Chowder. Chowder and his fucking Chinese sausage won 2 years ago, and that gave him the boost he needed to enter the Hooligan top 6. And just take a look at some of these names. Power Bangers, Rikishi's Stinkface, Shay's Deep Punt, Buttman and Throbbin, Blumpkins, Leslie Chow, Donkey Punch, Dr. Mark Masturbate Masterson, Odd Jobs Hand Job. Man, I love our league, the best league in the world. Chow isn't the best manager in the world, but he's pretty decent. So no, Chow, you are not the GOAT.
I went to the petting zoo and I
Already played that one. What's another one I got here? I got a lot of toys.
Who's this jerk? Man,
I think I'm a little tired. So that's the HooliGOAT rankings so far. Let's take a peek. We got Radler. Sorry. We got Radler in the bottom tier at 12. Then we got Caveney at 11. Joe at 10. James at 9. Silverman at a questionable 8. Maybe he's the tier below, but I think he's properly fitted. His win percentage was right around 50%, which I think was really what made me push him to not total shit, where James's win percentage was absolute shit. Chris, 7, Chow, 6, which means there are 5 teams remaining. And I will give you a spoiler. There will be 3 teams in the next tier, and then there will be 2 true GOAT contenders. And from those 2, we will crown the HooliGOAT. But even though we're done with the HooliGOAT series, I did mention earlier that this isn't even the best part of the episode. So if you hung along through all of this, you've made it to the best part.
Hooligans, alert, alert. Your minds are about to be shattered. Breaking in, our first Hoolibanger of the year. Take a seat, brace yourselves. This one is special.
No big, I feel like Pac. I shoot a shot.
The trade party house is booked, y'all. Yes, the trade party house is booked, y'all. And that is it. This is by far the nicest house we have ever stayed in for our trade party. We're going to Lake Winnipesaukee. We got it from Thursday of trade deadline weekend, the weekend before Thanksgiving, Thursday, November 21st, through Sunday, the 24th, all for ourselves. And I'm telling you, this house is kick ass. You can already tell by the photos just how much we are leveling up. I was not playing when I said this was the super season. This ain't a fucking joke, okay? This is all real. We got a heated pool. We have a hot tub. We have a pool table. We have a theater room. We have a game room and bar. We have a screened in porch, a deck, and a grill. Not fucking around, okay? Okay? And we will probably golf before. I'm going to ask Silverman to bring his simulator. We're not leaving the fucking house. We ain't fucking leaving, all right? This is the dream scenario. And to top things off, it will probably be the cheapest house we've ever had. You can expect to pay around $25 a night. We'll probably end up paying about $60 each for the entire weekend. Maybe a little more just for the house. Obviously, food and booze and weed and shit like that is outside of that. This will be as cheap, if not cheaper, than our first shitty 2-bedroom house we got a couple of years ago. But the only difference is that this house is worth like 7 times more. This is going to be the best weekend of the year. This will be one of the nicest houses you step into this year. And you might be wondering, what the fuck Mark, how did you do this? This doesn't make any sense. You're not that guy. You're not connected like that. No, I'm not. And I mentioned earlier that someone is trying to stake their claim as HooliGOAT of the next decade. And they're fucking doing it. So if you want to thank anyone, if you want to get down on your knees and thank someone, or if you need to put some motivation on your wall as to who you should try to be more like, it is King Radler. King Radler hooked it up, y'all. He has the connects. He secured the house. And when he told me about it, it was a no-brainer. Let's go for it. And we got the news earlier today that it is official. This house is ours. It is for very, very cheap. And it is all thanks to King Radler. So, Radler, you might be number 12 in this decade's HooliGOAT rankings, but you are number 1 in our hearts, baby. And you're the leader of the pack for the next decade. So, this is the breaking news. That's all information we have right now about the house. I'm sure we'll get more later. Do not worry about payments. That will be taken care of much, much later. Don't worry about planning for the weekend. Just get your fucking permission slip signed for all 3 days now. Do you see what we're doing? It's all 3 days because you do not want to miss any of this. Even get Thursday day, okay? Let's golf on Thursday. Let's get to the house and never leave until Sunday. So if you don't live in Massachusetts, book your flights. If you have a wife and or kids that you need to coordinate with, then you better fucking do it. Because this is going to be the best trade deadline party in hooligan history. This is the super season. This isn't a fucking joke. This is the best league in the world. That is all. Good luck at the Coke 0400 tomorrow. And we will talk again soon. Peace out.
Club in my taxi cab, everybody's looking at me now.